Welcome, this is Narves. I'm doing a VOD request for, I think it said Eugh89. Hopefully I'm not completely butchering that pronunciation of your name here. He submitted a video and looking for feedback on things they're doing right or wrong. Guessing by the look of the objectives here, I'm thinking you're running probably Ultras League Season 5 flags, which is the most current ones right now. Let's take a look at your run. I'll give you some. My goal is mainly to give more general examples of things to fix, not 100% fixed to just this specific run. But I'll also give one specific to this run because it may relate to getting these characters in the future runs of how to play them, how to put builds towards them, maybe how to route their checks. So let's go ahead and dive in and see what happens, and we can review over what you did and maybe areas that I can help you improve, run better. Just gonna maybe jump a little bit ahead here to get your run started. Color scheme looks great. That's what you like. I'm gonna pause here, and my first thought is to look at starting characters. That can kind of set the tone for how your run is going to start. So you got Sabin, Cells, and Mog. Let's see if you check their stats out right away. Yes. So we have Sabin with Capture. Capture isn't really do much, but as you can see, Sabin has a really high Vigor, which means he's really good with physical attacks, and he's going to be pretty terrible with magic spells at 23. That's really low magic. So it's unlikely your Sabin's going to be a main caster for you. Maybe a side caster, maybe some gray or white spells just to help along the way, but I wouldn't really plan on him casting spells to the end of the game. And maybe you don't even keep him too. Maybe we'll find some better characters with better abilities and better stats. We have Cells, who is a great caster. At 44 magic power, it's a great magic roll. It has lore and magic. She is 100% going to be a caster for you. I don't know what lore she starts with, but this is going to be a person you're probably going to have till the end of the game. She has a great equipment gear, and she can cast spells very, very well and very strong, both from starting to end. Mog with Sword Tech. Mog doesn't have a great vigor. 28's pretty is on the lower end, but it's not bad. A decent magic power though at 39. Sword Tech for abilities 1, 4, and 7 are pretty much the main ones. Are all mainly based on that vigor and physical attacks. That's dispatch, quad. I can't remember what the last other one is. It's a quad attack too, but it's a much stronger version. But what could really be helpful is Sword Tech number 6, which is Stunner. And that is a magic attack that's non-elemental, hits everything. With Mog having a great magic power, that might be a very nice spell or ability to use with Mog if Mog's also just not casting. Again, it also comes down to some items we find. So, based on what I'm seeing here, you have some very nice early starting abilities and characters like Cells with stats and magic. So next thing I would look at is the checks. So we have, usually I like to grab 2 to maybe 3 free checks to start the match off, depending on the characters I have. In your case, the only free check I probably would grab is Cells in the basement. It's her second check there on the tracker for South Figaro. The other free checks, you have Sabin's in Collapsing House, which I wouldn't do right away because it has 2 monster in boxes that could lead to fighting Katana Soul, which is getting you the Offering. An Offering can be huge if you have the right items, specifically an Atma Weapon and a Valiant Knife. So you may want to hit those monster in boxes, and doing that check early just for the free check isn't worth it because you miss out on those monster in boxes. For Mog, has a free check of Lone Wolf, but the problem with Lone Wolf is you have to do a very long walk to get all the way there. So in this case, I'd probably just gear up at Narsh, at Returner's Hideout, and a South Figaro, because then also at South Figaro I can get cells free check. And then after that, I'd see how my gear goes. So that's just roughly based on your 3 starting characters here. I'd start with. I'd take only that 1 free check of cells, and I'd go from there. Let's see what you end up going with. Oh, we got some spells for lures. Blowfish. Blowfish is a great starting spell. It does 1,000 damage right off the bat, and at low levels, 1,000 damage is a huge amount. So it doesn't even matter what your magic damage is, because it just always does 1,000. Yep, so Narsh is great for early gear up. There's a lot of chests in early Narsh, which is why it's a very popular, and you start right next to it, place to get your first few chests. Elixirs are great both early and end game. They're great early because you can sell them for a lot of money, which allows you to buy a handful of items just to help get your run started. Some defensive gear, some offensive gear, rods are a really popular thing to get because they're early magic spells that ignore magic defense and possibly give you spells you don't have yet for weaknesses. Nothing amazing from those chests. Some good, some maybe okay starting items. Bunch of that mostly just be sold. It's not really end game gear. For shopping, just a quick breakdown of kind of what I always do. There's no right way or wrong way for this. Everybody does it different. But grabbing Phoenix Downs for sure. I like to grab a handful of potions because when I do some of my early checks, I most likely won't have cure spells. And then rather than wasting a whole time to go through a tent, a single potion will bring you back to full health. So I always personally, I grab about 10, give or take how much money I have or what items I have. But grabbing a handful of potions makes early healing and speeds it up quicker. You don't have to find a save point. You can just heal mid-fly. And then after that, I usually grab 3 of every element or status fixing items. So softs, echo screens, green cherries, whatnot. I don't usually buy remedies just because they're so much more expensive. The other items are, you can buy 3 of them and still be less than what a remedy costs. No, which is you bought 3. You kind of followed the same idea there. Yeah, I just buy 1 of each because you just never know what you're going to need depending on what boss status gives you elements. No standout relics there. Oh, so here, shurikens, great to buy early in case you ever come across a throw. You never know when you're going to see shurikens next, and they're super cheap. You can buy about 20 of them, and they'll last you the whole run. That's about all you need. But another thing big here is those thunder rods. If you're afraid, or even just to help you guarantee some early fights, if you're able to sell a handful of items that really just they're mediocre items. Sure, they sound great in the beginning, but they really don't do much endgame. You really don't need them that badly. I would sell them and buy 1, 2 thunder rods if I can, because they will save me a lot more time early on to get those first early levels or first early bosses to beat them. Okay, so you've triggered. It looks like you're going north out of Narsh, which here you have in this direction is a very common run. To go this way is you will grab the Lone Wolf check, the what's called Kefka at Narsh battle, which is the battle you can switch between two parties, but you really only need one. And then when you finish that one, you get warped back down into town, and you can do what's Moogle's Defense. But you really haven't geared up too much by now, so doing some of those early checks and bosses, I wouldn't recommend. You're still at level 3. You need a few fights before then. You kind of want to be in the range of level 9 to 13, unless you have a bunch of rods you can make up the damage with, before you even try and take on some early bosses. Just level 3 is just way too low based on the scaling. And in this case, if you're also just running to get the free check only, you're wasting a lot of walking time here, because you might have to come back to these checks anyways. So there's no reason to start, even though it's great to have free checks early. This free check is not worth the time spent walking that far. Alright, well, we found Gau, and he's got some nice checks early on too. He's got a free check in the Veld once you find dried meat. And then Serpent Trench is a great checks for getting some early levels, because they're guaranteed fixed fights you have to do. So I think I kind of scrolling back here a little bit. Instead of getting checks like this, it would be better to do checks that give you fixed fights to start the game with. So you started with 2 checks that are already guaranteed fixed fights. You have Sabin's Imperial Camp, and you have Cell's Opera House. Both of those checks, to complete them, you have to do fixed fights against random, just normal encounters, which are great for grinding some early levels before you have to fight a boss. Now, Opera House will get those early encounters, and there's a boss at the end, which can be tricky if you end up not being able to handle that boss. But places like Imperial Camp for Sabin, there's no boss at the end for the check. So you get early grind fights, and you get a check. It is one of the best places to start for actual checks. If you're just coming up here again for the free check, that's great for free checks, but this check is better routed if you can do all of Mog's checks with it at the same time, because they all work well together. You'd grab this one, you'd grab that. Well, the Kefka at Narsh is technically not a Mog check. It's a check available at all times, but it's always a great check to go along the same path, especially since it warps you back into town right next to Mog's second check of Mog's Defense. We're looking through some rages here. There is a list that we have that's got all the best rages, like kind of ranked. Toe Cutter is a great one. I saw earlier up with Shrapnel. It's non-elemental. It does high damage. There was also the Tyrannosaurus, which does Meteo, which I believe is also non-elemental, and is usually guaranteed to hit everybody. I don't know if it can single target when there's a party. Okay, so obviously you didn't do the check for Kefka Narsh, which is fine, but it just seems you should have waited for the Lone Wolf check until you could do the other checks with it, because you're going to spend all the time, if you have to go back to that check, you're going to spend all the time walking all the way back up there to do that check again later. You can also technically take the Kefka, Narsh, and Moogle defense checks early, and there's grind fights there in that one. You can 100% avoid them, but you can also take advantage and just go hit them to gain some levels before you hit the bosses at the end. South Figaro, another great place to pick up gear. A lot of chests here. A lot of chests and all the shop variety. Gauntlet's great. Gauntlet's great, especially if you get some of the end weapons. Lumina's, Ragnarok's are great to have with a Gauntlet. If you have the jump command and you have a Gauntlet with a spear or lance, it does a lot more damage. Yeah, I wouldn't really say any standout weapons there that are must-haves. Or any... So there were some good defensive gears in there, but they're not needed at this point of the run. Maybe at the very end of the run, if you didn't find any armor, you could come back and just buy a few of those things. After you'll have usually extra money before you go to Final Kefka. Just to help round out characters if you need some more defense. Getting sleeping bags is great. I'd probably sell if I had money and I had more things, because I said we talked about buying rods, so a lot of my money might have gone there. But if you can sell a few more things here to buy, 10, 20 sleeping bags, 20 for sure almost could last you almost this whole run for your healing needs, and that saves so much more time than using tents. Yeah, so far none of the looting has made any endgame builds with. There's no been high-end items that you would keep for the whole game. Oh, an ice shield. Ice shield is awesome. It's awesome in 3 ways. It absorbs elements. In case ice, it absorbs both ice and fire. Okay, we got our first magicite. Great. It absorbs ice and fire. It absorbs, it can be thrown to cast ice, and it can teach ice too. So it is that would be a great shield for cells. We already know it's high magic damage already. She'd be a great caster with it. Oh, let's go back and look at this Esper here. So the Esper, oh, jumping too far. See if I can grab that. There's 2 parts to this Esper. One, yes, it teaches Bolt, which is a very low spell anyways. But the big thing for this Esper is that +2 strength, especially early. I'd be giving it to any person I think is going to do a physical attack. I don't know if you looked and saw, or maybe I missed it, what Gao's abilities were. But I'd probably give that +2 strength to Mog. Sword tech hugely factors in Vigor. Vigor. Yeah, Vigor. It increases that, like I said, those attacks that 1, 4, and 7. So if you can get Mog to learn the level 7 sword tech, and you've been giving it +2 strength pretty much for the whole run, it's going to be doing easily over 9,000 damage by the end of this run. It very, very much benefits from that. And those spells aren't anything that are needed by anybody. It's just kind of a whatever. You could give it to Sabin if you thought Sabin was going to be your physical attacker. Again, I didn't know if how Gao's abilities were. We'll catch that maybe in the first battle. Yep, optimize works great. Sometimes you just want to quick put on gear. I'm guessing you're probably looking for an early fight here. So, excuse me, doing an early fight here is great sometimes in the basement just because it's easy, it's already on the way. But I think in your case, an even better way to do this would be to skip any of these early fights and go right to Imperial Camp. Because it's guaranteed 4 early fights to gain you some levels with no boss at the end. Imperial Camp is a great starting spot without having to do any of these early random checks, and you get a check with it. Doing these early fights, yeah, you get experience, but that's it. There's no other goal. Or even better is even also going to the Serpent's Trench for Gao's. He's got also, I don't remember how many checks it is, depends on what routes you take, but anywhere from like 4 to 6 fights. Also would be great to just take that check and don't even do this. Just take that check, even if you didn't have dried meat, and get your early levels there. Don't even worry about doing random checks here in basements. And this is a hard check. These are fairly hard enemies to start off with. At level 3, yeah. You don't have enough magic even to cast like Blowfish, which would be great here. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, especially since you have those other options for checks, I would even take this check. I'd just run. No, there we go. Yeah, I think that's a good call. I don't think this is worth it for an early check. See here again, if you had some potions, you could heal everybody back up very quickly. Not that you have to really use potions now. Their health from max to min that they're at is so little difference. Air Anchor's great if you have someone with tools. It's a guaranteed instant kill, and there are a handful of bosses and enemies who, with the Air Anchor or other spells like Doom and X-Zone, can instantly kill and be worth a bunch of experience. That Dragon Horn you found, fantastic. If you can get some Dragon Boots, you can get a jumper going. Mog is normally a great jumper because Mog is guaranteed he can use every single lance in the game, including the high ends. You really want a Pearl Lance or an Aura Lance. But even some lower lances, its jump does double damage when it comes to using lances versus only 1.5 times with any other weapon. Yeah, so here I'd recommend, I mean, you can do more gearing up. Looks like you're going to return side out. Gearing up is fine if you have gone through this, but I'd be really thinking about hitting those few checks that have guaranteed fixed fights that will get you levels, because you would have hit them anyways. Even if you do the check later, you'll still have to fight the fixed fights. And what we mean by we say fixed fights are fights that you can't avoid. They're just part of the check. You can't skip them or go around it. Hero Ring, awesome. Relic, boosts both physical and magical damage. So if you're someone who might be doing both, so for sure. Otherwise, even if it's just for one, if you're going to have just the physical bonus or just the magic bonus, it works really well for that too. Again, you had a handful of money there. I probably would have bought some sleeping bags just to make easy healing throughout this run, because you found that chest with a ton of money. Okay, so now you're going to do Imperial Camp. It's a great choice to go to for early on. Also, it's a great choice you held off on equipping your gear until right before your fight starts. There's no reason to spend time in menus until you actually absolutely have to. Okay, you had a few things like Hyper Wrist, would have been great for Mog there, with his sword tech. Yeah, there's a monster in box here. Another strat. Ooh, Thunder Rod's great. You can actually, yeah, and it looks like you might be doing that. I don't know if you're planning on that. Holding off on getting the monster boxes until after you complete the checks. You actually kind of start behind it. You can jump up from behind and do that monster in box after you've done the fixed encounters here, in case you can't handle whatever monster comes out of the box. Okay, so you've got, oh, that's right, guy's got Rage. Yeah, so Hero Ring works perfect. Forgot, because you're going to be doing physical and magic attacks because you can't fully control them. Again, for Mog, I would put one Hyper Wrist on him. Okay, so we have a fifth character. Getting characters early on is great. Okay, Veteran, this is a very, very tough fight. I wouldn't even try and fight it at this level. Though, I just learned something new. I didn't know Veterans had earrings you could steal from them. Earrings would be great, especially for Cells there. Cells and Go for his casting with the rages. You could try casting the Thunder Rod here. I don't know how much damage that would do them. I would not have Sabin cast Thunder Rod. He's got a terrible magic stat. Let Cells cast it. She would do twice as much damage with a Thunder Rod, just because of her higher level magic skill. Not bad. That would be a ton of experience for you early on. Yeah, that is a great fight. Again, like I said here, if you had bought a handful of potions, you had tons of money. You could have healed your whole party right back up now for the next battle. So that it wouldn't be in question. I'm not even sure if I'd spend time teaching Mog Ice. I think Sword Tech is going to carry Mog through the whole game. He doesn't have to learn any spells. I didn't see, but if you had enough magic to cast Clean Sweep, you might have had enough to cast Blowfish. Blowfish would have been way more damage early on here, because that's that guaranteed 1,000 damage. But I didn't actually look to see what how much magic you actually had to spend. People are looking very hurt. Decided not to take that battle? Sure. You got a ton of experience from 2 battles. This one isn't 100% needed. Would have been a heck of a lot easier than the other ones you did, but... Okay. So Realm there has got tons of magic power. Yeah, she's a great fill-in. Sabin has no special abilities. No, fortunately, you can't exit to the left. You have to walk all the way back. Now, I'd give Realm the Ice Shield. She should learn spells. So, going back for the free heal is not a bad thing. It's, it's there. But honestly, you have checks that are coming right up here. You could do the falls for Sabin's check that normally has the piranhas popping out, and that heals you just doing that check. It heals you before the check even starts. That's just something to know. So you wouldn't even have to come back here and do any of this. You could have gone right to the next check, hopped in it, and it would have healed you as you went through it. There's also a healing spot actually at the train. The train also has a healing lake right before it starts. So I'm not really sure what you're trying to do here, but I think hitting the train, the Phantom Force, I should say, and the falls check would have been a great 2 checks to hit right after that. They were right there, right next to where you were. One gave a free heal. Technically both would give a heal, just one you had to walk to it. And you could have seen what they, just gotten those right away. Again, you didn't need that Esper Bolt is not really worth learning. That Esper is way better for the bonus it gives. So I'd look and see who can benefit the most from a physical attack increase. That Esper would be so much better on Mog to help increase that sword tech. Because Mog did not start off with much vigor, so his physical attacks is pretty low. But if you'd stuck with that +2 since the very beginning, he'd have a great physical attack by the end of this run. Because those spells aren't anything worth teaching anybody. I'm gonna guess you forgot to put a Moogle Charm on here. I don't think this was a planned encounter. And with Smoke Bomb, I'm guessing, yeah, you weren't really planning on taking this encounter either. Accidents happen. Luckily you had those Smoke Bombs, so super easy to get out of and fix that situation. Here's a nice quick check. You could see that that wasn't a character that came down. So this is either an Esper or possibly an item. In this case, I don't think I even would have cast Meteor. Tunnel Armor is very weak. Meteor takes a really long spell animation. You're better off just waiting for Cell's turn to come back around and do Ice 2 again. Or let go, hopefully cast Meteor. Meteor's a great spell when you need non-elemental, possibly even for a group, but I wouldn't rely on it too much. It's a really long animation for not a lot of damage. So right now, looking at my checks, the things that probably could have done that were very close by, again, was still the Falls, was still Phantom Forest, was Magic Tech Facility. Would have been a great check. You can guarantee, well, not guarantee, but it has a chance for 2 Espers for the first 2 checks. And then you can decide if, well, if you had a Warp Stone, you can decide to leave then early and just take those 2 Espers or whatever the 2 checks are and go, or try for the 3rd check, which could be a character or an Esper. And I guess since needing, still your 6th character to get Final Kefka, I probably would have taken the risk of doing all 3 checks at Magic Tech Facility early on. It then also unlocks the Magic Tech ability if you ever ran, if your 6th character or if later character happens to already have those skill set. Oh, we have some earrings. Earrings are great. Yeah, you don't need to keep ribbons, not unless you had a plan that you're gonna. The only reason to keep a ribbon is if you plan to do a cursed shield. Hyper wrist would have been great. Yeah, I would have kept my hyper wrists for Mog. They worked well for the sword tech. I would have probably kept 1 gauntlet in case I ever came across Ragnarok or an Illumina. They increased the damage pretty significantly with having a gauntlet. And you didn't need the money that badly. So there was Fire Rods. Fire Rods would be a great purchase even still now. You don't have the Fire spell. Your strongest spells are level 2 anyways. And again, Rods ignore magic defense. So some high-end bosses that have high-level magic defense, beat them to throw Rods at them, just as your spells, just as a consumable one-time use, is a great purchase, even now. And you had a ton of money. That buying a handful of Rods may have paid off to make battles later on way quicker. I don't know why you bought 11 smoke bombs. You don't usually need more than 4. You shouldn't be going into that many encounters that you're going to skip. Or that you have to, or you need to skip. I know I talk about the exact path that you should be taking, based on characters you have. It's better for you to just keep picking paths than spending time overthinking what's the exact perfect path is. I know those paths kind of in the right order because I've done it so many times. But without a doubt, picking a path and sticking with it is better. Like just to keep going from check to check, than to sit there and think or fly around for a while trying to figure out, well, what's really the best path at this exact moment. It's better just to go pick a path and go with it than it is to spend a lot of time thinking about it. Usually I spend time thinking about it as I'm finishing up one boss and it's dying. I'm looking at my checks and deciding, hey, what's the closest check to me right now? What check gives me the exact items I need coming up? Maybe, certain checks only give Espers. Certain checks are a good chance of finding a character. There's no guaranteed character checks, like there are some guaranteed Esper checks, and by guaranteed I mean they still could be an item, but they'll never be a character, so it just has a better chance of being what you're looking for. Enhancer's great. That ups the damage for cells by quite a bit. I don't know what other, well, you could be looking for dried meat or warp stones, otherwise there's not many more items you need. I would have bought sleeping bags, but it's a fine route to just not do it. You can just go off tents and other ways to heal. Playing a little dance game with him. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't even cast Meteor. It's too long of a spell. It doesn't do that much more damage than a level 2 spell does. Not at this point in the game, at least. Yeah, see, there you should have done Blowfish. Blowfish is going to be doing 1,000 damage. Your Clean Sweep... Well, I could be wrong here. Maybe not with Earrings and Enhancer. Maybe Clean Sweep's now gotten up to 1,000 damage. Okay, so it has. So in that case, it was break even between the two. So yeah, right now I'd have Earrings on Realm and Cells. I'd have a Hyper Wrist on Mog, and probably the Mog Charm on him. He doesn't really need any other items. And then I'd go Running Shoes and Hero Ring are a great choice. I don't know if you took this check on purpose. The fight, if you really needed it, you know, if you were trying to get some levels before a boss, there's a good reason to do it. But the actual contents of the chest is a lie. I don't know what it is, but these items aren't randomized, these floating chests, so they'll never be something great. And what it does say is in them, I believe, is not in it. Like, it said 2,000, and I think it's like 200 or something instead. It's not even the right amount that the game actually gives you. Those chests are usually never worth it, unless you're looking truly for a fight to gain some levels. Yeah, those spells aren't worth anything, and the 10% health is great, but it's not a huge game changer. Yeah, so there was a great check. Put Mogs, giving him the plus strength. It'll help his sword tech a lot. I'd still give Carbuncle to somebody, even though if it's not great. Maybe you'll find that those spells come in handy at some point down the line. Oh, well, we have our 6th character. And with the 6th character, he's got Doma Castle in the World of Ruin, which gives you all 8 sword techs. So for Mog, that would be huge to get those 8 sword techs, because the number 7, I forget the exact name of what it is, will do 3 times, it feels like, the damage that number 4 will do. It ignores defense, and it boosts your attack by pretty significant numbers. Plus, Mog has a fairly decent magic damage that doing the number 6 sword tech, that's non-elemental, and hits every hero on the, or every enemy on the map, is a great spell to learn too, or a great sword tech. So, Cyan's great to find here, knowing that you already have sword tech. And that Doma's, the Dream one, for World of Ruin, has 3 possible checks throughout the way. It's 2 bosses with 3 checks. So you could get 3 Espers, or you could end up with an Esper, character Esper, or it could be 2 items and a character. Technically, all 3 could be items. But it's still a really good check to do with unlocking the sword tech abilities, giving Mog a huge boost in defense or in offense. Yeah, I would definitely take this check next. It's a great one. You know, I'm gonna go back quick. Did you look and see what Cyan's abilities was? Yeah, you did. I can see it here in the log. I just want to jump back quick and see. What abilities did Cyan have? I think I missed that. Okay, so he's got okay vigor, terrible magic power, and ability of sketch. Yeah, he's definitely not somebody you'd be putting in your party. He's not better than anybody you have. That was the right call. I think I skipped. Here we go. Right now, too, also, you're done looking for characters, so I would be heavily focusing on checks that are more likely espers. So if you have Warp Stone or the Warp ability, Magic Tech facility, the first two checks can only be espers. That's a great place to go after this. I'll also be looking at peekable checks. Checks you can see that you guarantee aren't a character. So Collapsing House, Phantom Forest, or the Train. Yeah, let's see, what else is there for that's P. Doma Castle in World of Balance. You can technically save right outside. It'll show you what the check is. If it's a character, you gain it right away, and if it's not, you could do it. If you knew it was a character, you could immediately restart and come back again. Doomgaze is it's a hard early fight. I don't think you have the rod anymore. You used to have you had that thunder rod you already threw. You can't cast ice. Ice would just heal him. Meteor is not a terrible option here just because you have nothing else. That Meteor does great damage. Heck, it does such great damage. Might be worth. I don't know if you did. Give him both earrings. Maybe that's why it does so much damage, as you did already give him the earrings. Blowfish is great here. Can't block that damage. Unfortunately, Sword Tech does such little damage against Doomgaze. I don't know if I'd spend the time even casting that ability. I just let Mog sit in the sidelines on this one. Let Mog throw items at people that need healing or need more magic power. As you can see here, you have to actually leave and come back out of magic before the effect comes in. Oh, that's a bummer. That'd have been big to have hit for you. Nice finish. Cathood is a great item. It halves all elemental damage from all the main primary ones, fire, ice, lightning, and I think something else. And it not doubles, but time and a half the money you earn per battle. Yeah, Cathood is the single best helmet in the game. Unfortunately, it's a very limited pool of people who can actually equip it. Normally, there's always a random chance that anybody could equip it. Note here, you could stand in the doorway going south, and the minute that cutscene ends, you immediately walk through the door, or you trigger the next room. Just as a note. Unfortunately, you didn't buy any sleeping bags to make that quick, and it looks like you should be probably buying a few tents to have on hand. Yeah, you can just cast any spell at him. Ultras in this version is pretty much weak to everything. Again, I don't know if I even have... So right now, Mog doing his ability is holding Realm back from casting her spell. I don't think I'd even have Mog be doing any abilities. Not when Realm is doing 3,000 damage. That was more damage than Cell's, Mog, and Gao put together. If you just had her casting Fire 2 each time, that battle actually would have gone slightly quicker. Just ignore everybody else attacking. Sword Tech will be great later on. It drastically improves with having more levels. But it's not the most amazing ability early levels. Or even, I guess now we're kind of almost getting mid-game. It didn't help that Mog didn't start with amazing vigor. So using those physical attacks, he doesn't do nearly as much damage as he could. Levels are more important, by far, than the vigor status. So as Mog gains levels here, you'll see it exponentially grow in damage, it feels like. It's not truly exponential, but it's the way the damage formula works. It takes level into a factor twice, and vigor only once. So that Esper with +2 speed is huge for just about anybody. So whoever your biggest damage dealer, +2 speed works great. If you're going to heavily rely on your rage user, giving them +2 speed is awesome, because that means they can just attack faster to get those rages off more quickly. Even if they're the wrong one, they can cycle through faster. But +2 speed is huge for increasing how fast you can attack and do damage. Especially when I mentioned about only one person needing to attack because they did so much more damage than everybody else. If you give them plus speed, they can repeatedly just keep doing single attacks and ignore having anybody else doing anything. Usually by the end, my rough estimate is to always have 2 main damage dealers in my party, and the others are more utility based. Now, you may end up finding items that turns the other 2 into main damage dealers, but I really focus and make sure that 2 are my high damage users. Give them the best stuff if I'm low on specific items. Doesn't matter what that was. At 359 GP, that is a must buy for anything. So this is great. You could actually peek this check and see that wasn't a character. Because if it was a character, you didn't need this check at all. If I had seen a character there, I would not even have done it. It wouldn't have been worth my time. Because you don't need a 7th character to get to Final Kefka. I would have just immediately reset back out, reset the whole game, reload the save I have when I saved before I came in here, and gone and try and find another check. Right now, like I said, Magic Facility would be a great check to do, but only if you really have warp stones. You don't want to walk. You don't want to walk back. I don't think if you can walk back out. There, so you found a warp stone. Right now would be a great time after this to hit the Magic Facility. Do the first 2 checks. Check if they're espers, because that's all you're looking for is espers, and then warp back out. Another great check actually is World of Ruin Narsh. You get a dragon on the way, which is great for gaining a whole bunch of levels and unlocking an item, high-end item. And Tritalk at the top is either an item or an esper. So it just removes that chance of randomly collecting another character you don't need. And you can use a warp stone or warp spell to warp back out after you finish Tritalk. So you can immediately just exit the check without having to walk back down the whole mountain and through the town and everything. Hey, there, you can learn warp, and it's got speed. Like I said, speed when you don't have like plus magic 2 espers or plus 2 strength when you need it, or extra health. Speed is a great stat for any hero to learn to get that bonus of. Right now, I'm not really sure how much. I'm been buying some rods. There's not much for you to buy. Maybe I check out the weapon shop, but you don't really need the defense shop. There isn't much more you're going to find there that you don't already kind of have. Weapons, maybe, if you're trying to look for one of those physical weapons, a Ragnarok, Lumina, App Weapon, Valiant Knife, just happen to be in one of them, but I wouldn't rely on it. So again, here's a great check. You can peek this. You can save now, hop in. If a character shows up right now, immediately reset back out, because you're not looking for a 7th character. So, you can see no character. Now, you can't guarantee it's not going to be an item, but at least you know it's not a character. So it's a good check to check at this point in the game. Poltergeist, though, is a bit harder to beat. You have ice, too, though. Yep, that's not a bad rage to use. Meteo, I should hit him just fine. Meteo is non-elemental. It is not, even though it looks like fireballs, it's not actually fireballs. Like fire spell. And maybe you already know that, but just in case you hadn't. Well, I see you now. You did both Stunner and you did Quad. Okay, so I think Quad is technically better here. Because you made 700, that's 2,400 damage you did. Versus I think your Stunner only did 18,000. So you did about 600 more damage doing Sword Tech 7. The only advantage of Stunner, though I'm remembering now, is that you can actually hit the spell, cast the spell stop on Poltergeist. You can actually stop him from attacking. It's probably what you're doing, and I'm just realizing now. That's why you did Stunner first. Unfortunately, Stunner is not a guarantee it'll hit him with stop. But it has a 33% chance of casting it on the enemies that it hits. So now you have an Aurora Lance, you have a Dragon Horn. If you could find some Dragon Boots, you've got a jumper in your hand. And a jumper at this point and for the rest of the game is an end game build. That jumper will do all the damage you need for the end of the game. It could be Mog, which would be giving up Sword Tech. I don't know off the top of my head which one does more damage in the end, if Sword Tech would or if... I'm pretty sure Jumping would, with a Dragon Horn, would do more damage than Sword Tech. But I can't say that for 100% certainty. It'd be pretty close. But if you can find another user who could jump, let's say Cells, if she could jump with Aurora Lance, she'd be doing way more damage than what she could cast right now. You have no level 3 spells. See, I'm not really sure, but yeah, you have a bunch of peekable checks still to look at, like Phantom Forest and such, where you can see if it's a character, or in Esper Heck Phantom Forest, you can see what the item actually is. I don't know if I'd take these on just yet, because you don't know what this check is until you've already completed the whole thing. So you're spending a lot of time on a check you can't guarantee is going to get you progression towards the end of the game. Though if you didn't have peekable check, this isn't a bad check. I don't mind, myself personally, of grabbing dragons near the end for some huge boost in XP. Like I said, with the Sword Tech user, the more levels he has, the more damage he's going to do. Pretty significant increase in damage. You also, if you had dried meat, you can... The Velt is a very quick check as well to do. Go down to 3 party members, use your dried meat. I don't remember if you've seen dried meat yet on this run. That's something I think might be worth the time to hunt down. Try a few shops you hadn't seen yet if you haven't seen dried meat, because it's a guaranteed. It's going to be in 5 shops somewhere in the world. Yeah, you're already starting to do pretty significant damage with Mog. And but you do even more so once this dragon's done and gives you a big boost in levels. Of course, elemental shields are great. They Thunder Shield blocks thunder and wind attacks. Teaches you lightning 2, bolt 2 in this game. So here you end up finding a dead check or an item. So this didn't lead to any progression getting towards the end. From here again, I would think about doing Phantom Train. Oh, a Ragnarok. Now, if someone can use that, I talked about that gauntlet earlier that you sold. If you can give them a Ragnarok gauntlet for Cells, she would do way more damage. That's an endgame build for her, to give her the gauntlet and a Ragnarok. She could take it all the way to the very end. So now I would shift. You don't have high enough spells. You don't have any level 3 spells. I'd put her in the first row, because unlike Illumina, Ragnarok does not do the same damage in the back row. It does half damage. I'd throw her in the first row and have her be an offense person now, a physical person, offense. Give her Hero Ring, give her Hyper Wrists, or Atlas Armor. There's a Atlas Armlet, I think it's called. There's a relic. I've seen it through some shops that you've done. Would be a way to boost her to a physical damager now. Plus, her magic spell does help whenever it triggers the spell. When it casts Flare, her magic stat is used in the calculation of how much damage Flare does. So it's not a bad thing to have that additional magic. Nope, see, here's it's dead. Yep, and you did it. Yep, you got to peek at it and you got to reset. Those are the checks I'd be doing right now. Anything I could peek at. I'd still recommend the first 2 checks of Magitech Facility. They can't be people. They can only have a chance of being an Esper or an item. But they're fairly quick checks to do, the first 2. I'd skip the third one. Third one takes a long time and has a chance of being a character, which would make doing the third check a big waste of time. I wouldn't have anybody attack here. Have Mog do Sword Tech 8, instant kill death. She's weak against instant kill. So Mog could just do 1 attack here, and this whole battle would be over with. I wouldn't have casted any of the spells. Narapa is susceptible to instant kill things. X-Zone can also take out. Doom does not, because they have a reflect. So it would reflect Doom. Again, Cells only did half damage there because you have her in their back row with a Ragnarok. You need to put her in the front row to do the full damage amount. Yeah, but Mog's Sword Tech 8 is an instant kill ability, and that boss is susceptible to instant kills. You could just cast that one thing and ignore all the other attacks to save a whole bunch of time. Or if you had X-Zone, you can cast X-Zone and possibly kill in one shot. I guess same could be said too if you had the Espers Odin or Raiden. Those two don't get reflected and could do an instant one-shot kill. Okay, so you need 2 Espers now. Magitech Facility, first 2 checks, could be 2 Espers, and you could be done. Those are the 2 I would head towards next at this point. They're fairly quick, and their chances of being Esper are high. What are you changing? Oh, you're gonna do... You must have dried meat. I must have missed when you bought dried meat. No, this is a fine check. It's nice and quick. You can do it right where you are right now and just fly down. Anywhere in this whole continent you could land. It doesn't have to be by the cave here. I would not, at this point in the game, do Serpent's Trench unless I had to. That'd be one of the last things I did. It's a very long check that does not guarantee there's an Esper there. I do shorter and peekable checks if I could at this point. I'd run from I can't find it in these checks. With Hervan and Minerva, putting in the front row with a Ragnarok, with a Gauntlet, ignoring the shields, Cells would be a powerhouse. Here I would have done Stunner. Would have been a way quicker attack. You already knew Stunner kills just one of those guys. Okay, so we have another character. Unfortunately, you can't fully predict that. But he does come with a very easy, quick check. You can just go to Vigor Castle, check the throne, see if it's an Esper. If it's a character, I'm not even sure if I would take it. You only need 2 more checks, which means it would put you to 17 checks. Wouldn't put you that close. It wouldn't put you very close to a skips. So taking the extra check would just make things harder without really improving anything. By having an 8th character. If you're already at 8 characters, I'd take the 9th character, because that would get you the skip in Kefka's Tower. But only getting you to 8, there's no reason to. But maybe you get luckier. Maybe this is an Esper. And Illumina. Well, that's better than the Ragnarok. I'd switch the Illumina onto Cells. And I'm not sure anybody in your party needs a Ragnarok. I don't know if anybody else can equip it. I guess I'd double check if anybody else can equip the Illumina. Besides the tents you're short, you have no reason to be buying items right now. You don't need that many Phoenix Downs. You could use some tents to heal up, but there's no reason to be in these item shops. You don't need anything. I wouldn't even be opening chests at this point. With a Ragnarok and a Illumina and sword techs completely maxed out, you're done. You don't need anything else. Oh, I saw Mega Elixir there. That might be worth buying. But again, you didn't need to. You didn't have to come here and find that. It wouldn't change much. It's just a bonus that you did find it. Honestly, I also wouldn't even look at my items selling unless it was go sell. Yeah, relics sell for a ton more money than items do. Oh, you know what? You could Genji Glove. You could Genji Glove and Illumina Ragnarok if you really wanted to with cells. It's not ideal because you still have to be in the front row, but it's not a bad plan. If you could split the weapons, though, I'd probably split them. If you had 2 Ragnaroks or 2 Illuminas, Genji Glove, 100%. But having one of each, I'd probably try and see if I could split them to 2 different people to take advantage of that. Yeah, you are 100% maxed out on gear. You don't need any more chests. You don't need to shop for any more items. You just need to find 2 Espers as quick as you can. Magitech facility would be great right now. Auction house can get you 1 Esper, so if you find only 1 Esper, okay, so you are going to Magitech facility. I think that's a good choice. So right now you've been in menus to do some other things like tents and such, but while you're doing that, you should have equipped the Illumina on somebody, even if they're not their primary weapon. The stat bonus that Illumina gives is huge. And since you haven't learned any tier 3 spells, I'd be tempted to... I would probably give up Gau for Edgar, only because I know Edgar can equip the Ragnarok and start swinging it. Again, the Ragnarok is just an endgame build item. And Gau's Rage you can't rely on enough. Yes, Meteor does tons of damage and it's great, but it's too unpredictable. You can't plan when it hits, who it hits. It's not good for endgame. It's good early. It may even be okay mid, but endgame Rage is too unpredictable to rely on as a primary offense. Here you go. Yeah, unfortunately, since you already knew nobody could use the Ragnarok, I would have kept the Ragnarok on her and see if anybody could equip the Lumina. That way you can use both swords. Right now, a Ragnarok's just sitting in your inventory, not doing anyone any good, and it is an amazing item to have. Yeah, at this point, I wouldn't have Go. I would have dropped him. Yeah, I wouldn't even go casting any abilities right now. Realm and Cells can take down 90% of all bosses that you need to do right now. Mog is a backup when you need it, when you need an extra little bit of damage. Or for some reason need a physical damage more than spells. Unfortunately, it was a dead check. But that's okay, because here's what you can do now. You can check the second one here. If you get an Esper, you have enough money and cash, enough things to sell, head over to the auction house in World of Ruin and see if there's an Esper there. That would be way quicker now than any check you have left to go check out the auction house. The only other check that may be worth it, just because it's peekable, is Edgar's first check for going in to the castle in World of Ruin from the south... I can't remember what the cave is called. Is it the South Figaro Cave or whatever it is? Where the tentacle monsters would normally be. That check you can at least see if it's a character. And if it is, then you would... I just realized... Why you didn't use a tent when you were at the save point? That would have made a lot of sense to have healed yourself up. I don't know if that was by accident or thought you would be okay without it. Again, I wouldn't have Mog. I wouldn't have anybody do anything but Realm and Cells. They do 90% of the damage here. There's no reason to even have Mog, even attack with anything. In this case, it worked out. He was so close to dead that that little bit of damage is all that was needed to kill him. So, you got a magic site? Great, you're one short. Here I'd warp out, and I'd go do some other quicker checks. Auction house is a great place to go, and you can check. Oh, and there you go. Yep, that was a good call. Oh, the other place that's a good check would be World of Ruin, Narsh, and go hit Tritalk, the Esper. There's a good chance that that Esper will be, hitting the Esper Tritalk will be an Esper. What it'll give you. The waiting game. Again, I'm not sure what you're looking to buy. You are fully set and ready to go. You don't need to buy anything more. The red jacket would have been great if you had switched to Edgar. Edgar can equip the red jacket. Red jacket makes you immune to fire attacks. It actually heals you. There you go. Your last Esper. Not a bad place to check for it. So, now I just realized you are 2 checks away from a skip. And the quickest strategy right now to do a skip is you actually take full party middle in Kefka Tower, you defeat the Cells boss, and you defeat the dragon. You get items, and you get a whole bunch of levels. Then you warp out, and you fly back in, and you warp to the statues right away. You skip one boss, and you skip a ton of walking. You don't even need to do this check. You'll hit a dragon in the tower, and you'll hit a boss. Both will give you an endgame item, possibly. That would be better time spent than doing this check. You don't need this check. This is irrelevant if you go and do the middle lane full party to hit 2 checks. Because you can hit those 2 checks without having to walk any other party members around, or the other 2 parties around. You can just walk to it right from this person that's just from the center lane. And that would give you the skip. This is going to put you 1 short of the skip. Yeah, in this case, I don't think I'd have anybody doing anything but Realm. See, right now you're going to have Mog attack. Well, it doesn't matter, I guess. You killed it. But if you had Mog attack, Realm couldn't have attacked. And Realm right now, on this boss, casting Bolt 3 would have done way more damage than Mog could do with his sword tech. Again, you're making kind of decisions on this person casting spells, but I think unless you're having him be like your just utility person, he doesn't really... Teaching spells this late doesn't really matter. Life 2 might. Having at least one person with Life 2 on him, who's likely to live through things, is not a bad call. In case someone gets one-shotted in Kefka's Tower. Are you gonna go do another dragon? So you are doing the 2 things to try and get the skip, it looks like. But a much quicker skip would have been just doing the center lane in Kefka's Tower. Because this is a lot more walking than Kefka's Tower would have been between the Opera House and here. I wouldn't have go do anything here. Just have Cell's attack, physical attack. That Illumina would just tear through this, because if it casts Pearl, it does even way more damage. Yeah, the Illumina does way quicker attack speed. And if you just had her attacking repeatedly over and over again, it'd been way quicker than having 4 people attack separately. You still have a Ragnarok too sitting in your inventory that very easily could have been equipped on somebody. I should say by somebody, not Gao. I would have taken him out and put Edgar in. Just because he could use the Ragnarok. So now by using this 1/10 here, you are now 1/10 short from healing all your party members at the end of each statue. You could have just used the bucket at Narsh. You could have warped out, walked back in, healed up, and walked back out. So, here's where it comes. And I don't know if you're going to do it here or not, but I'm just going to bring it up. I'll just bring it up while you're doing it. I don't plan any secondary characters here to be fully geared up. I just hit the equip and optimize. It doesn't look like you even did that part. You just left him with the same gear that he started with when he came into your party. I do a quick optimize because likely there's some random items that I just didn't sell that they can equip and maybe survive some of these battles just to be a support item throwing character. Yeah, he's gonna be dead now because he doesn't have anything equipped. Should be dead after this spell. So now you got struggles again. You only have 2/10. You're gonna have a hard time to heal yourself before the end of all of this is done. I would have, and again, yeah, because of that, you're having to spend an elixir, which would be a great thing to have spent during the Battle of Final Kefka. And you did the correct play there. Always got to get that last chest right at the end. Staple. So this boss is, I'd be swinging my Illumina, just physical attacks. It's a much quicker thing, and you'll probably do the same or more damage than this spell's gonna cast. Because anytime you proc Illumina's Pearl at this level, you probably would do quad 9s. And quad 9s is one single, or is 2 bolt casts almost. do have a poison rod. Would not be bad to throw that out about now, since Pumbaa's weak against poison. Yeah, see, there's the downside of using rages and planning that to be endgame damage. You just can't rely that it'll cast the right spell every time, or do the spell even. Also, a rage user, you can't use items or spells right now. You can't heal with. Might as well cast Bolt 3 on everybody. Bolt 3 is going to make it. Those two guys are weak against it. I'd cast it on everybody. In this case, killing Marshall in the background is not actually in the battle. Unlike Vargas, who you need to kill, you need to kill just him. You got to kill every single person that's in this battle for it to end. So I'd be casting Bolt 3 on everybody. They're weak against it. Might take them out with a single cast or multicast. And Marshals are strong at the end of the game. They're just playing with you now, pushing you back and forth. So at the end there, I think, yeah, you have Siren, which is good for muting the T2 magic, as he's called. And I know with your sword tech, with the number 8, again, I don't remember its name, you can do instant kills, both on left arm and on tools, which tools is the middle figurine and on the T2 section. Yeah, I think for a plan, I would have Cells and Edgar physically attacking with a Ragnarok and Illumina. I'd have Mog, more utility. He'd be doing the level 8 sword tech to instant kill, and then I'd have Cell or Realm casting all the level 3 spells that it's needed to take out each section. That build right there would be a very quick build to take out this whole statue section. But since you didn't switch out Edgar earlier, now he's a fairly low level. You couldn't do it right at the end. That, and he's dead, and you didn't equip anything on him. Otherwise, you're kind of leaving that Ragnarok just sitting on the table without actually using it. So I wouldn't have him do anything. Not at this point. Oh, well, he could do Odin, sure. I'd be right now just having Realm. And Cell's doing physical attack against the head, and Realm casting Fire 3 against the head. See, now I would not have Mog attack again. One attack took Mog more than halfway down in health. So I would not rely on Mog doing any attacks against that fist, that right fist. Because all it takes is 2 hits and you've lost him for the rest of the battle. You also, I think, had a handful of money you could have bought. Looked right at the end before you started here and bought just some decent armor, I think, for Mog. I don't think Mog's wearing much. Doesn't have to be high end, but just giving him, you know, less than basic stuff can improve his defense for this final fight by a lot. Yeah, having Mog or Gao being the item thrower is a very good idea. She shouldn't be casting anything. You should really, yeah, take advantage of the weapon you have. The Illumina might do that damage in one swing, plus it may proc. So here, you should Siren magic in the back left, silence him. Not because, well, maybe because you're worried about the damage, but more than anything, just worried about the time it takes for him to cast each spell. You use Sword Tech 8 to kill Tools, the girl in red there in the middle, to instantly kill her. Oh, Mute works there instead of Siren. Yeah, so you shouldn't have done 7. If you do 8, you could have instantly killed Tools in the middle. And that's just one less person you have to worry about randomly doing attacks. I wouldn't even be having Go attack. His damage is not enough to make it worth the time. Let him just be your item thrower. Heal everybody up. Keep their magic power. Keep their MP up. Mog, throw an X potion at him. Oh, there you cleave. And you killed her. That was a good call. Oh, Magic's dead. When he finally counters and breaks the mute that's on him, you know, that means he's dead. I'm not sure why you left, I don't remember what the blue guy's called, him alive last. The reason I usually leave Magic last is because his endgame spells, especially when he's muted, can't kill anybody. Dispel or Quarter can't actually kill anything. Versus this guy's 10 hits could actually take out a party member and you would have no time to bring that person back to life for the next round. They're gone because you'll move on and that person will be left behind. I prefer usually to kill him first before Magic because Magic's end counter attack can't actually kill anybody. Yeah, you're gonna need one more spell from Realm. Oh, and Realm's out of Magic. Oh, so now you take advantage of the Lumina. That was a good call. Again, if you had propped Lumina up, you know, giving a Gauntlet, Hyper Wrist, or a Atlas Armlet, you could make that Illumina do double damage from what it was doing there. Or more than double damage. Yeah, you're in a tough spot here. You need some AoE healing. You're in a tough spot now. At this point now, there's no coming back from this. The minute you try and bring somebody back, he's going to immediately medio and kill him. You need some way of quick bursting down the last 10,000 health. I think we're going to just skip on up. My biggest thing would be probably that you should have, you know, you're doing the best you can now with what you kind of put yourself here at the end of the game. Edgar with a Ragnarok earlier on, gained him levels. Sal's with the Illumina. You should have been doing more physical attacks with them, plus than the procs. They would have done way more damage and have been way quicker than try to have her as a caster. Leave Realm as a caster, because that's her best abilities and she's got great stuff for it. And Mog as a support, both utility for when he needs to do the insta kills, or if he needs to throw some healing items out. Your wipe was just lack of burst damage at the end. Not having, I don't think you have any. You had healing spells. You had a Cure 2 on one of your Espers. You must not have learned it. Yeah, it gets kind of tough now because now you feel like you're stuck in a loop. I'm gonna jump ahead. We've seen you fight this. Let's get back to where you kind of left off. I mean, what you did so far, besides maybe not using the Illumina enough, everything else was fine for how you kind of planned this. Yeah, see 7,000. You'd have to just try and just time it just right, where one character hits and the other character. How much does Quad Slice do again? Okay, so that does 8,000. No matter what, you're going to have to take a... Well, you could get a train, I guess, but you're going to take a media... Oh, gosh. That is not what you want to see. You have 2 Mega Elixirs. Yep, now's as good a time as any. Cast 2 level 3 spells and hope that you can survive 1 medio attack. I didn't count the damage here because I kind of skipped around. It looks like you're still short. But that's what you needed at the time. You need to time 2 level 3 attacks to do the last set of 10,000 damage. If you stop midway through that 10,000 damage So Sleep has... Maybe I should talk about... Sleep has 40,000 hit points, always. And once you get it to 30,000 or less, that's when he starts casting Meteor to counter every single attack you do. So you need to get him as close as you can to that 30,000, and then hit him with either one big attack that can do more than 10,000 damage, or plan 2 attacks right in a row and survive 1 row of Meteors to make it to the next round, to survive that section. If you can't burst enough right there at the end, you'll never get past the Meteors, and it's just an uphill battle. But, this is look what you did. So, your sword tech brought you over the edge. And you still have a Mega Elixir left to use for when Fallen One happens here. I don't know if I have much. You have any Elemental Shields at this point for Final Kefka? They're pointless in defense-wise. So, any Elemental Shields you have at the end of the game, take them off, start throwing them at Kefka. Unless your Tier 3 magic is already doing Quad 9s, then you can just cast that. But if they're not doing Quad 9s, take off the shields and throw them. They're guaranteed at this level that you're going to do Quad 9s with those shields. Some people usually save them for when he starts charging Goner, because when he's charging Goner, he can't counterattack any. So that's the best time to just chuck the shields at him. If he's still alive after Goner's cast, unless you know how much damage you've done to him, for if it's going to kill him next, it's best not to attack him and wait for the next Goner round. Otherwise he's likely to counter with Ultima or some other, what's the other big attack? Hyper something. Hyperdrive. I think that's what it's called. When he does a physical attack, he's just pretty much guaranteed to kill a party member. So yeah, throw everything you got on him now. Save those elemental shields. Throw those the minute he starts charging Goner. Take them off and start chucking them by everybody. And there you go. It looks like maybe you're going to do that. You saw the elemental shields. Perfect. Now's the time. Take those shields off and start chucking them. See anybody who's got a shield, throw them. Because they aren't his Goner attack. There's no defense on that from any shields. So you're just, again, here's another big burst you're just trying to do. Yeah, you don't have one, so you'll have to do possibly sword tech. No, there you go. Throw that. Unfortunately, you missed the Goner. So now here's where it gets a little risky. Now that you're gonna, if you attack, he may counter if you don't actually kill him. It's always a question: do you wait for the next Goner to attack so he can't counter you, or just try and burst him down here before he does another counter attack? Oh, that's the end. So it didn't matter. Sir. Or ma'am. I guess I don't know. This was a great run by you for being somebody who is new to the game. You did a great job, even with the failure of one of the runs up to Kefka. It happens, even to the best of runners sometimes. You lose, fail, you got to restart and go back up the run. For being new, you did a great job on this run. You've for sure, I think you posted earlier in the beginner's chat about taking over 2 hours and such in time, so you've definitely improved. You're way ahead probably of when I was when I started. I think my first several ones were like 4 hours and 3 hours in there. I gave lots of advice throughout the run of things to look at, things to remember and do. You can't remember everything, not right off the bat. Pick and choose a few big pieces. I think a few big pieces I'd recommend overall are just learning some of those checks. So like doing Lone Wolf early, that cost you a bunch of time. You walked all the way up there without doing any of the other checks. I think later on, after you had done Imperial Camp, you could have gone back and done Lone Wolf, done Kefka at Narsh, and Moogle Defense all in a row, and that would have saved a whole bunch of time. When you were down for looking for 2 Espers, doing the Magnatech facility, you did that. You ended up doing that later on. Doing it early though would have been better because those are not guaranteed, but more likely to be Espers. They couldn't be a character. Unlike Science, World of Ruin, Mount Zozo. Sure, it's got a dragon for nice levels, but that could have been a character, and not really helped your progression. Doing the skip check because you wanted to get to 2021. You did the dragon then at Narsh. If you had actually gone to that check earlier and not done the Opera House and just done the Dragon and then the Esper Tritalk, would have been way quicker to get the skip check. You were already up there. It's a few more steps just to go do Tritalk, and you would have gained not exactly the same amount of experience, but you would have gained pretty close, and you would have gotten the skip. But truly the best way would have been to go to Kefka's Tower, do full party in the middle lane, have them take on the Cells boss, and the dragon on the way. They don't have to interact with any of the other party members. They can just take that one party, run it all the way, hit the dragon, warp out, go back in with the skip. So you attack those few things, get some levels, and then skip and come back out and go back in. That would have saved several minutes. The other big thing was rage users. Great in the beginning, especially when you have some good rages. The only really good end game rage that is feasible to work in Final Kefka is Stray Cat. Stray Cat with an offering and a high-end weapon. Sniper's the best. That's about the only one that really makes sense to have him in the final party. Rage is otherwise it's too unreliable. But when you have Stray Cat and it does 4 times the damage with a physical weapon and an offering, which means you could possibly you'd have quad 9s every single time very easily. That's the time where it's worth it, even if it's not guaranteed every time. Otherwise, most rages are just too unreliable. You didn't really use rage much here through the Final Kefka. You just had Go just kind of be there. But I think if you had Edgar holding a Ragnarok, plus cells holding an Illumina, and you'd given them a few offensive relics, I think they could have blown through Final Kefka's little tower there at the end way faster. So those are some talking points. There were several I went throughout the way about just the run, about general ideas to think about. Again, it is a lot of information all at once here for almost 2 hours of me talking. I'm going to share this with you. Please, if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, by the way, like, hey, I don't get what you mean here, this doesn't make sense, reach back out. We can meet back up. For anybody else who was watching this video and thought how cool it was for somebody to see your run and try and learn how can we improve individual parts, there is a form. I'll put a link in this video description where you can submit a video, a VOD, that we can come that we have a mentor program to come help and say, here's what you did, here's how ways we think you could improve your time, here's the ways in general, not just like that specific run, but like general ideas of what could you have done more or better to try and help improve your average times on the runs. We are always looking to help more people. That's what this is all about. We want you to have fun. That's probably the number one thing. Enjoy yourself doing this. If this gets frustrating at any point, take a break. Come back to it later if you want. But hope you learned something, and I will see you guys later. Bye.